You don't know the whole story. Allowing people to call for violence against Russia is like allowing people to call for violence against Cain Velasquez prior to knowing the reason why he shot at this guy. I'll admit, prior to knowing the reason why he shot at this guy, I thought maybe he had like violence issues or he was drunk or something like that. So what if Facebook were to say, prior to everybody knowing the reason why Cain Velasquez did what he did, not knowing the whole story, what if Facebook said, okay, we're allowing calls for violence against Cain Velasquez because he's just this violent, crazy criminal that's just out there, and let's get the mob out there to get angry and build up all this hatred in their mind, and probably allow some people to go and attack Cain Velasquez. Okay, so that's what they're doing because we don't know the whole story, what's going on with Russia, Ukraine, all that kind of thing. But the same thing with Cain Velasquez, we didn't know. Prior to us knowing, it was like, oh, maybe he has violence issues. But after we find out, it's like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I would have done the same thing if somebody, molested my kid over 100 times and my kid is under 4 years old. I probably would have did the same thing. So we don't know the whole story about Russia. I think Facebook does know the whole story about what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. But since Russia is not following what the West wants it to do, they're just going to attack it any way possible, and that is by getting the mob on them, by allowing people to call for violence against Russia. Now, why does Facebook not have allow people to call for violence against different sexual orientations, different genders, different nationalities? Why? Because that builds up hatred in people's minds, and that leads more than likely to some people, committing violence against these different sexual orientations, these different genders, these different nationalities. That's the reason why they have this in place where, you'd get kicked off. You'd get kicked off of Facebook if you called for violence against anything else. But now they're allowing people to call for violence against Russia. Why? I mean, even if what they're doing is wrong, you still shouldn't call for violence. Even if, what the government, what our government is doing to us is completely wrong. They're giving freaking $13 billion to Ukraine when 67% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. You got tons of people homeless on the streets. This is what the government's doing to us. And is it right for, should we allow people to call for violence against our government? No, it's not right. Violence is never right, no matter what. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're allowing. And this is crazy double standards. But that's the reason why I compare it to the Cain Velasquez situation, because prior to us knowing, it's like we think there's something wrong with Cain Velasquez, but once you hear the whole story, you understand the reason why he did what he did. So we don't know, like I said, we don't know the whole story about Russia. All we hear is about what the news and the mainstream media tells us, but that's most of the time it's not true. Most of the time it's completely false. They're painting this picture as Russia just being this psychopathic, warmongering, like want to take over the world type situation. But if you look at the actual situation, like Ukraine being overthrown overthrown in 2014, and then slowly encroaching on Russia and putting all these things that Russia's against. Russia allegedly, they want the conservative values. They don't use any, of these world banks. They don't want that because they know that's corrupt. It's corrupt. It's going to corrupt their country, and they don't want corruption in their country. Allegedly, this is the reason why. I'm not sure, but whether what they're doing is right or wrong, there should never be allowed to call for violence. Okay? And It's crazy. Let me know what you think. Do you think that Facebook should allow calls for violence against, I mean, under any circumstances? I don't think, I don't agree with that. I don't agree. Like, what is this, like the purge? You know what I mean? Like just allow the mob mentality and people just to say whatever they want, do whatever they want, and freaking go crazy and build up hatred inside of themselves. Like that's just wrong. These are the people that are supposed to be leading by example. With great power comes great responsibility. They need to be teaching people to be peaceful, not freaking violent. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think this is wrong, or do you guys think this is like yeah, we need to hate them and go against people and fight? Let me know. I just don't. I can't agree with this. I can't agree with calls for violence, especially when you don't know the whole story. Once you know the whole story, then you might change your tune, like the Cain Velasquez situation. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.